Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. So, if you don't already know, I really love television. I suppose, I don't know, it sounds weird to say, but I suppose I would consider myself a little bit of a TV scholar.
Blah, blah, blah. I like TV. I watch a lot of TV. I study TV. Okay, move on.
And so I thought, because a lot of people are staying home, a lot of people are doing a lot of television viewing, a lot of movie viewing. So I thought, let me come up with a list of some of my favorite things that I have been watching recently and some actually not so recently. So I was going to do a really short video of like my 5 favorite things that I've been watching on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and Disney Plus. And then I realized as I started making these lists that is pretty impossible because I'm also a Libra, and so editing and choosing is difficult for me as well. So I decided to break it up, and today's video is just about Netflix. I have 20 recommendations of, I think these are all television shows. Yeah, these are all television. I don't have any movies on here. All television shows that I have really, really enjoyed and would highly recommend. So if you want to hear my Netflix recommendations, then keep on watching. But before we go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for something else to watch. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any video, because I will be doing a part 2, maybe a part 3 of all of my other recommendations on the other platforms. So if you want to see that, then subscribe. And all right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so as I mentioned, I do have 20 recommendations of things to watch on Netflix. So I'm going to try to go as fast as I can. It'll be very hard for me because I love all of these things that I'm talking about. I really, really enjoyed and I really love. So I'm going to talk about the first one. Number 1, my absolute, probably one of my favorite television shows of all time. I talk about it all the time. I look at memes about the show. I literally bought the cookbook from the show, and that is the Great British Baking Show. If, everything's a little crazy and there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of scary things that are happening right now. If you want something that is wholesome, that is lighthearted, that is happy, yes, it is a reality show, it is a competition, it's a baking competition, but it is the most wholesome competition you will ever see in your entire life. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen, and I love reality TV as well, and I love like competition shows. Across the board, everyone who's on the Great British Baking Show, they are so supportive of the other contestants, and they rush in to help whenever they need, and that is just amazing. So there are 8 seasons total, and that includes the Great British Baking Show, and then there's 1 season of the Great British Baking Show, The Beginnings. It started airing in Great Britain long before it ever came to the United States, and when it came to the United States, they started renumbering the seasons. So 1 season of the past episodes or the past seasons was released on Netflix. That's called The Beginnings. They also have the Great British Baking Show Holiday Collection, which they bring like former contestants back to do like holiday themed things. They have a masterclass, which if you haven't seen, it's not as interesting, but it's really fun, and it shows the hosts. So it has Mary Berry. I adore Mary Berry. Don't get me wrong, I like Prue too. There was a little bit of a changeover. I don't really know. I don't remember what happened. I think it was on one of the BBC channels, and then I think it got picked up by ITV or something in Great Britain. I don't know. But there was contract disputes, so the 2 hosts, Mel and Sue, and one of the judges, Mary Berry, left the show. So we have 2 new hosts and a new judge. Paul Hollywood is still there. I actually really like Sandy and Noel. I think they're quite funny. And Prue seems very nice. But the masterclass does have Paul Hollywood and Mary Berry, and they teach you how to make a number of the dishes that were on the show. So I just love British Baking Show. Mini seasons that you can binge. Really, some really great characters on that show. A lot of the contestants were really fun. I really loved Kim Joy. She was one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, like I said, I bought the cookbook. I've not baked anything from the cookbook yet, but I own it. And one day I'm going to make the eggs and snow. That's my dream. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do it one day and it's gonna be fun. All right, the next one is another British show. I really like British television. I'm a lot of bit of an Anglophile, so of course British television shows really speak to me. And this one is fantastic. It's called The Bodyguard. Unfortunately, there's only one season. You can blow through it really quickly, or you can savor it, whatever you choose. I've heard rumors that they are going to be bringing it back, which is fantastic. It stars Richard Madden. You probably will know him from Game of Thrones. He played Robb Stark. He was also in Cinderella, the 2015 remake. So Richard Madden plays David Budd, a police officer who is assigned to be the protective bodyguard for the Home Secretary. I don't really know what a Home Secretary is. I feel like it's kind of like Secretary of State, because this lady was proposing some like international deal and people were not happy. She made a lot of enemies. And so Richard Madden's character has to protect her. He's her bodyguard. There's a whole terrorism plot, a lot of great action. He also was dealing with a lot of personal issues because he is a veteran. Really, really interesting. Lots of action. Definitely want to check it out for Richard Madden with his true like Scottish accent as well, which is always a lot of fun. Okay, next, another British show. This is called Lovesick. That is the American title. In Great Britain, when it was originally aired, the original title was Scrotal Recall, which, that's a lot of fun. That's a funny title. There are 3 seasons that are currently on Netflix. I adore them. So the story is about this guy named Dylan, who is truly a hopeless romantic at heart. But he finds out he has an STI, and now he has to go back to all of his past partners to deliver the news, and while he's doing that, he attempts to discover what went wrong with him on his quest to find true love. It's really interesting. Each episode, especially in the first 2 seasons, is the title is a woman's name. It's a really great storytelling device, and I think they do really interesting things, the way that they go back and forth. They jump back and forth with the timelines, and it's kind of the story of how they met and their connections, and it's really, really great. It's very funny. It is very well written. The show also has a really great cast of supporting characters. It's basically, these three main characters, 2 guys, and then their one girlfriend. Her name is Evie. I especially love Luke, who on the surface appears to be kind of comic relief, but actually has some real depth to him as a character and experiences growth throughout the entire series, which is really cool to see. Also has such a great soundtrack. If you enjoy kind of indie music, you will love this show for the soundtrack. The music on the show is fantastic. It's just on my playlist now because it's spot on. So well done. Next, we're moving into no longer British television shows, but I got a couple Netflix original series. So You is the next show I want to talk about. I'm sure most people have at least heard about You. There are 2 seasons, and You is a trip. It is an investment in your time, because once you start watching, you will not be able to stop. At least that's what I found for me. It stars Penn Badgley, and he is just, I have to give them props. He is perfectly cast as Joe Goldberg, who is the main character in You, because Joe is basically like a grown-up, more creepy Dan Humphrey. Wow, yeah. So basically it follows Joe Goldberg, who has issues, to say the least. He has issues. He gets really obsessed with women. Her name is Beck. In season 1, she is an author. And he gets really obsessed with her. It's creepy. Super creepy. It's really interesting. It's very, very well done. It is well scripted. The acting, I think Penn Badgley does a fantastic job as Joe. He makes you sympathize with him, which has actually been interviews with Penn Badgley. He's like, you should not like Joe. He is not a good person. And it's like, yes, you're right. But he's a very well-written character. I actually personally really like season 2 better because I think I like the supporting characters in season 2 so much better. I'm not going to lie, I got a little bored with season 1 just because I found Beck and then her other friend, her name is Peach, to be so annoying. I really did not care for the characters. It was hard for me to sympathize with them, to like them. But in season 2, you get he moves there's a new place, there's a whole new cast of characters, and this one character named 40. He's fantastic, hilarious, so well written, but also has a really dark past and a lot of pain and trauma in his life. He's dealing with a lot of things. I think it's such a complex character for someone who's, a supporting character to be so complex is really great. And then his sister, who is the season 2 love interest, her name is Love. Yeah, she's really, really interesting, complex, well-written character as well. I enjoy it. And then I'm not going to give it away, but there is a amazing plot twist at the end of season 2, which you will not see coming. It is so fantastic. So definitely recommend You. Another show that got a lot of press recently, a lot of people were talking about it. I saw so many articles on BuzzFeed. I was like, okay, I need to check this out. It is the show Cheer. Oh my goodness. Cheer is amazing. It is so good. So it is a documentary. I've been really getting into documentaries and nonfiction a lot recently, and Cheer is hands down one of the best I have seen in a very long time. I wish that we could have watched something like this in my documentary class that I took in grad school, but no, we had to watch really bad movies. Anyways, there's only one season of Cheer. I am praying that they will do another season. Probably a lot has been put on hold. I will see what happens, but I hope that they do another season because it is fantastic. I am a fan of Navarro cheerleading for life after seeing this show. So Cheer follows the Navarro College cheer team. Navarro College is in a very, very small town called Corsicana, Texas, but they are the world champions of cheerleading, and they've won something like 14 or 15 national championship titles. I know absolutely nothing about competitive cheerleading, and you don't have to enjoy this show because it opens your eyes. There's a line so I also am a huge fan of musical theater, and I love Lin-Manuel Miranda. And if you are also a fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda, you need to listen to the soundtrack to Bring It On. He wrote the music to the Bring It On musical, which I've never seen that movie, but I am in love with the musical. And there is a line in the musical that says, "We get mani-pedis, but we're made of muscle." We work so much harder than the teams we cheer for, or something like that. And it is... So I just kept thinking about that as I was watching this documentary, because it is just crazy how much these kids put their bodies through. Sad also that, that they're really putting their bodies through so much pain and so much work, and then their career is basically over after college, which is a very sad thing. So I think the filmmakers did a really good job of actually doing, the fun, uplifting cheer aspect of the show with also some of the realities of, they have very short-lived careers, and a lot of these kids actually come from, well, not a lot, most of the kids come from very privileged, wealthy backgrounds, because it takes a lot of money to be at that level of cheering, because you have to, go to cheer camp and then all the gear. Any really professional sports, a lot of people come from some kind of privilege, but the filmmakers did a really great job of selecting kids. These are young adults from the cheer team who came from more challenging backgrounds, and then portraying their story to see where they've come from. Ladarius is just a joy. He's so much fun. He's so joyous, but he also had his background. There was a lot of pain and things that he dealt with in his life. That's amazing. Jerry's my favorite. I love Jerry so much.
Ooh, your thighs are big. Yeah. Oh, Jerry, for sure.
For sure got the best.
Jerry has the best Matt talk of anybody in the world.
Period.
Jerry is just a joy to watch. I love Jerry. He's amazing, but he also has a very sad background. Also Lexi, Morgan, these kids have gone through a lot in their lives to get to this point. And I think the filmmakers, it's a really great testament to their ability to be a storyteller as well as a documentarian. So you should definitely 100% check out Cheer. There's only, I think, 8 or 10 episodes, so you'll get through that really quickly. But it's fun. It's so fun. The next show is Love is Blind, which, again, got a lot of press recently. It was released, I believe, earlier this spring, I guess, or winter. It's such an interesting concept. So it's a reality dating show, which if you haven't checked out my How I Spoiled the Bachelor video, you should definitely do that. I put a lot of time into that video and I thought it was really interesting, so check it out. But it's a take. Love is Blind is a twist on reality dating because all of the people get to talk to each other in what they call the pods. And so it's like basically 2 rooms and they are meeting and talking to each other without ever seeing each other. They never see anyone and they have to date and fall in love and get engaged without ever seeing their partner. And then, I mean, that's interesting enough. That could have been a whole show of people just meeting and getting engaged without seeing each other. But I think it's really cool they take it a step further. First, they made their connection without seeing each other. Then they actually get to see each other for the first time. Then they go away on like vacation for like a little mini honeymoon. Then they find out, oh, the other people from the pods were still there. Then they like move in together. And then at the end, they have to get married. Like they actually have a wedding. And I think it's really, really interesting to see how it goes from making these blind connections with just hearing each other's voice, just getting to know each other's personalities, making an emotional connection to can you actually fall in love, and is love truly blind? I have to say the couples that I thought would get married did not, and the couples that did get married, I never thought that they would. So I think it's a really great show. You should check it out. It's a lot of fun, really interesting. Again, not very many episodes. You can get through it super quickly. So I'm just looking next on my list. Tiger King. Wow. I'm going to need some tea for this one because let me tell you, it is a wild ride. It is wild. It is, oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start. It is crazy. So to be honest, there's one season of this show. Everyone has been talking about it. It is the show of the moment right now, and rightly so. Rightly so. This show, it's a documentary again, deserves to be talked about. So the filmmakers spent 5 years following this gentleman named Joe Exotic. Yes. So I actually have not finished watching the entire season yet, so you know, I know sort of what happens. This is how great it is that I'm talking about, and I haven't even finished watching it. I just finished watching, I think I have 2 episodes left, and I just finished watching the episode called Make America Exotic Again, which is a great episode title. I think like most people who've heard about Joe Exotic before watching Tiger King, you heard about him through the John Oliver Last Week Tonight episode that John Oliver did about third-party candidates, in which he talked about Joe Exotic, who ran for president in 2016 as a third-party candidate. Yes, he did.
Thing is, I am not cutting my hair. I'm not changing the way I dress. I refuse to wear a suit. I am gay. I've had 2 boyfriends most of my life. And this is all paid for by the committee of Joe Exotic Speaks for America.
Wow. Just wow.
You know how crazy this show is when the episode with him running for president and for governor, that is not the craziest thing that happens in that episode. Not by a long shot. Is that the craziest thing that happens in that episode. It's not the craziest thing that happens in the entire show. So you start out and you watch this, and it kind of starts talking about how people who own exotic animals are not... Well, I don't want to say anything because I don't want these people who own tigers to like come after me, but it's a unique type of person who owns big cats and all these exotic animals. It's a weird kind of culture. The big cat people. I think they start out saying in the first episode that big cat people are crazy. Yeah, you could say that. I think you definitely could make that assumption that people who own these exotic animals are a very different breed of person. Yeah, and so that's what you think it's going to be. It's about, you meet all of the characters. You meet this guy named Doc Antel who owns a zoo in like Myrtle Beach. You find out later he was part of a cult. He's maybe possibly running like a cult with these tigers. He has like 3 wives. Yeah, and then you meet Joe Exotic. Of course, Joe Exotic is gay. He has 2 husbands and he owns a zoo in Oklahoma. And then you meet I don't want to say the villain, but definitely Joe Exotic's foil, his nemesis. Her name is Carol Baskin. She runs an animal sanctuary in Florida. She's also weird and has given us the catchphrase of the moment.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
She's just wild. These people are crazy. So you think, okay, that's what this show is going to be, that these people are kind of weird and this is a documentary telling you about these weird people. And then the end of the first episode starts and bam, you are hit with the fact that it is possible that Carol Baskin killed her second husband. Like, what? What? This bomb was just dropped in, like, at the end of the episode. You're like, what? She killed her husband? It's just absolutely wild. And then let me tell you, that's not the end. It just keeps going. It keeps going and going and going. And it just gets more and more crazy and, like, wild and crazy. I just keep saying crazy because there's no other way to describe it. There's no other way. Weird things keep happening. It just gets more and more outlandish as you keep watching, and you can't stop. It's a train wreck. You know it's going to be a train wreck, and yet you're sucked in. You're glued to television. You cannot stop. It is fantastic. Watch Tiger King. Watch it now. You will thank me later. You just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Okay, switching gears completely to some more scripted drama. I recently finished watching the 4th season of Better Call Saul, which is so well done. So amazing. So good. So, Better Call Saul is actually a spinoff, which is on par, as good, maybe even better. I'm saying it now. I think I like Better Call Saul even better than I liked Breaking Bad. Yeah, I really did. Just because I think Saul Goodman, who you find out his real name is actually James McGill. And I think he's a more well-rounded, more interesting kind of anti-hero than Walter White was in Breaking Bad. I personally am really drawn to that anti-hero archetype. I think it's very interesting. I like characters that have something else going on that you can't really tell because I think it's more true. You know, all people have good and bad in them, and I think showing that complexity of a character is just a more true representation of a person. And so I really like that. So if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, I would definitely also, again, recommend watch Breaking Bad and then Better Call Saul. It's a minor character, really. I mean, Saul Goodman is, I think people would call them like an ambulance chasing lawyer. They do a lot of, personal injury claims. I mean, he is, I guess, technically he's a defense attorney and a little bit shady. So season 5 is currently airing on AMC on the network. So it's not on Netflix yet, but the last season that I just finished watching, which was season 4, is when we find out that Jimmy is going to be a lawyer and he's going by the name Saul Goodman. Saul Goodman, which, yeah, it was really great how he gets to that point.
I'm not going to be practicing under the name McGill, so.
Shouldn't be a problem. Just down the hall, we have all the forms.
Great.
Wait, Jimmy, what?
It's all good, man.
So it was such an interesting show, so well done. Vince Gilligan, who is the executive producer, the creator of the show, is just Gillian or Gilliam, whatever. Vince G. He is, I think, a real auteur when it comes to television. He has a real style, and then just everything that is in the shows has a purpose. It has a reason for being there, and you may not realize it when you first saw it, but it eventually will come back around. So it's great. It's really, really so smart, so well written, and so well acted and produced. I think it's a great show. You should definitely check it out. Can be a little heavy. We're talking about drug dealers, gangs, all that stuff. So if you want something a little lighter, a little bit of fun, a little comedy, one of my favorite shows of all time is New Girl. 7 seasons. It is a joy. It is so fun. I love all of, actually, it's kind of interesting. New Girl, so it follows Jess, and she is living with her longtime boyfriend, who finds out is having an affair. He's cheating on her. She comes home, catches him, and then has to find a new place to live. She sees a posting in the newspaper or online for looking for a roommate, and she ends up living with 3 men in this loft, which is totally unobtainable. It's in the, I've seen the outside. They shot it on a sound stage, obviously, but the actual building that they say is their building is in the Arts District in Los Angeles, which, if you know anything about the Arts District, there's no way they could afford that, 4-bedroom huge loft in Los Angeles. Like, even with 4 people living there, who could afford that? It's crazy. Anyways, that aside, that's a trope of television, is that there's all these young people living in outrageously large apartments that no one could really afford. But it's great. And while I like Jess, so she is played, of course, by Zooey Deschanel, who is adorable, sweet, wonderful, wholehearted, love her. She's not my favorite character, which is saying a lot, that the lead character of the show is not my favorite character. Because you have characters like Schmidt.
Darn it. Does anyone see my croquet cleats?
And you have Nick, who's the old grumpy man that I just adore to pieces.
I will push if I want to push! Come on! I hate doors!
And Winston. Oh, I love Winston.
Hey, Schmidt, what do you think it's gonna look like?
What do I think it's going to look like?
Yeah, the puzzle.
Winston, it's on the box. The picture's on the box. It's a Japanese garden.
Schmidt, calm down. What is your problem?
So I first watched New Girl. I was taking a sitcom writing television class, and basically we would pick the teacher picked a show, a sitcom, and we had to write a spec script, which a spec script is a sample script. It's a brand new script, that you're taking characters that are existing, you're taking storylines that have already kind of started throughout the show, and writing a sample script that, if you were going to be a writer, to audition or apply to be a member of the writing room, you would write a spec script for that show. So we had to write a spec script for New Girl, and that was a lot of fun. That class was a lot of fun. And that's how I got into the show. I adore it. There's 7 seasons. I've watched the entire show at least twice, and I'm kind of feeling like I need to start watching it all over again. So watch New Girl if you want something fun and funny. Another great show that is a newer one that I just recently was introduced to by Abby Williams on YouTube. She recommended it, and that is the show Schitt's Creek. Yep, there are 5 seasons, and it is a joy. It is a hoot. It is wonderful. So it follows the Rose family. They are very wealthy, very, very wealthy at the beginning of the show, although they trusted the wrong person to be their money manager, who ended up embezzling and stealing all of their money, so they are flat broke. They have nothing except they bought this town named Schitt's Creek as a joke because of the ridiculous name. So they are left with only this town to their name. So they have no place to live, so they move to this small town and live there. And then they get to meet this whole variety of characters in this show. My favorite character, of course, is Moira Rose, followed very closely by David Rose. Catherine O'Hara plays Moira. She is fantastic. She has created this character who is just so interesting, such a joy to watch. She's really fun, fantastic. The whole cast, and then Alexis is the daughter. You may have seen the TikTok dance going around, people, and during their quarantine dances, people are dancing to her limited run reality television show, A Little Bit Alexis.
And a little bit of la 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 la. A little bit of Alexis.
It's great. It's great. The whole show is fantastic. I would definitely recommend it. Only 5 seasons. It goes, and they're short episodes, only 20-minute episodes, so it's a lot of fun. Hey, surprise. I bet you didn't expect to see me here. Nope, well, I didn't expect to be here either, but so I'm currently editing. Okay, I'm not currently because I'm here. I was filming a different video and just decided instead of doing a voiceover, I would film this. But I am working on editing this video that you are currently watching, and I realized I like talking about television maybe perhaps a bit too much. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end it here. This is my top 10. And I have another 10. Okay, not top 10. Like I said, these aren't ranked. I had 10, and then I have another 10. So I'm gonna split it into 2 videos. So, you know what? Check back. I'm gonna post it like pretty much right after no, that's a lie. So this is the end of part 1. Be sure to check back soon for part 2. So be sure you know, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you don't miss part 2. It'll be out fairly soon after I get this one out. I hope. I'm saying this so, you know, it kind of puts me on the spot. I got a lot going on. So I promise I will work on it. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you very, very soon for part 2. All right, bye.